Hi, Zizaran here with another Betrayal League Starter Guide. This is for 3.5 and it is a Arc Hierophant. There's been some changes with things like being able to summon 2 totems at once. This you can do through a gem or an ascendancy. And this is a really great League starter. And you don't need any previous currency to start this build. It's also going to be really good for solo self-found players. I use Path of Building a lot in this video. I recommend downloading it. I'll give a link in the description down below. It's pretty straightforward to use, especially for following guides. For those of you who are new to my guides, something I do is I do a step-by-step of the leveling process. So how this works is it shows you exactly where and with your ascendancy points and when to ascend if you follow the points. Hopefully this helps for new players. I also have different item sets in the items here. This shows like day 1 non-crit, early crit, or endgame non-crit and endgame crit. So it's some like example items, a couple of uniques, stuff like that are good to get. That should help as well. In the skills section, I show, for example, level 1 to 7, use Freezing Pulse, Onslaught, and Arcane Surge. They're always listed in priority of gems, so if you're using Freezing Pulse and you only have a 2-link, then ideally you want Freezing Pulse and Onslaught instead of Freezing Pulse and Arcane Surge. And then it keeps going on here, like while you're leveling, then a 23+. If you don't have a 6-link, you generally won't in the start, then you would use, for example, the 4-link here or 3-link. Have some utility skills here as well, try to fit them in as you can. The Wrath and stuff is like socketed in the ring, so this is more of a later thing in your in-game set here with, for example, an Essence Worm. A new thing as well in the notes, Madiki has been making these, and it basically shows you, for example, where you buy the gems, what mission you need to do, and everything should be here. I think we might be missing Decoy, but we'll get on that. So this is all intended to make it easier to follow for new players. Hopefully it helps. So in this guide there's going to be 2 versions. There'll be the leveling version and stuff will be non-crit, and then we'll also have an endgame version with crit. There's some pros and cons, and you can change through regrets. As for Bandits, I recommend doing Illyria on day 1. You don't need to, but it does give you quite a lot of resists in the start. Makes it a lot easier to complete the Act 1 to 10. You can respec this later with 20 regrets and an Onyx Amulet in Act 2. So leveling this build should be really nice. It's a really strong build. It's got a lot of survival. You can rush straight to like the double totem and minor matter. So much survival, and when you can just slam down your totems and run around, that gives you a lot of survival just by moving. If you are softcore, you have the option of not taking minor matter and running Wrath for more damage. I still wouldn't really advise this, but you do have that as an option. We will be running Wrath and an Essence Worm later on. Lets you run something without preserving anything, and the only aura you'll be running is Clarity. On the Path of Building in the rare items, I don't really, in all of my builds, I don't generally put on resists. And the reason for this is I don't really particularly care where you get your resists. Just make sure that you're always, after like 3 or 4, close to resist capped on the elemental resistances, Fire, Cold, and Lightning, so close to 75. And please remember that you lose resist once you kill Kitava in Act 5 and 10. Flasks is something I see a lot of players struggle with, so I've started putting actually rolled flasks in the builds. Ideally you want like, this is my ideal setup. Alchemist Adrenaline for late game, but Chemist is fine earlier. Then you want, the most important things is bleed removal, freeze removal is fine on like a heat because it's generally only a danger when you're opening boxes. And then curse removal, shock removal are also pretty important. Another note is I generally don't put skill jewel points in the early skill tree, even if it's a 1 slot, because that's more something you take once you actually have a jewel to put in there. So just, you know, if you find one while leveling that has like double damage or 1 life and damage, put that in whenever you feel like. But when you're starting out with this build, early days, look at the like insane effectiveness of the early part. So you get like really quickly Ancestral Bond, you can get really quickly Minor Matter, and there you see that there's very little like traveling nodes, very little stat nodes. So you get Spiritual Aid early, and no, your totems do not count as a minion, that's not why this works. If you look at the third line here, increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you. That means that any minion damage you take from this point on will go and affect your totems, which is really good. This is nice for a lot of builds too, but we're not going to be using Spiritual Command in this build. This also makes it work for example, you can use Bone Helmet and minion damage nodes and jewels. Like if you get minions to increase damage, that'll work on a jewel. And you have Celestial Judgment, which is nice. I don't like taking punishment because they won't always have an ailment on it. So it's not terrible, but I'm not a big fan for something when you're non-crit. In the endgame crit as well, you can see that there's like it's pretty different. I'm not sure exactly how many points, but it's probably a 20 to 50 somewhere amount of regrets. Probably around 20 regrets on top of the ones you get for free. If you do all the side quests, you do get a lot, but you will definitely need regrets on top of that. So there's some pros and cons versus non-crit versus crit. Everyone's going to be leveling as non-crit, but once you are able to like put some more currency into your build, you'll definitely benefit a lot more by being crit. So you have some other advantages as well, like being able to shatter the monsters either through using a Call of the Brotherhood or converting, or you can also use added cold. And the reason for this is that it shatters the monsters. So if you do like the porcupine monsters that explode, they don't explode anymore, and the detonate dead boxes or monsters detonate dead will not like kill you as easily. So that's like some nice benefits to that. Benefits to being non-crit is that you do have like access to all these nice minion damage nodes, and I think you get a slight more damage in the start at least, but generally crit will do more damage. You do get bone helmets as well while you are using this, which is especially nice either solo self-fan or early on when you might not be able to get an enchant. But generally, I prefer crit. The shatters are nice. It sounds really good. And yeah, should be a fairly strong build. I haven't turned on anything crazy in like the config. I think the only thing I have on is power charges. So should be pretty nice. It'll be slapping down 2 totems each. You do have the option of like dropping Ritual Awakening and getting, for example, instead of Divine Guidance and Ritual Awakening, you could go for Arcane Blessing. You know, you can play around with that if you want. This is what I recommend at the moment. Double totem and stuff should be nice, should be fun, and hopefully you guys like this build. I'll be streaming the majority of December. If you have any questions, drop by my channel, come say hi. Twitch TV Zizaran. Thanks for watching. Try to die less than I do.